Wagwan me people, quick thing before we kick off. The views where you hear upon the Father to Father podcast, them strictly for why, the hosts, guests and contributors. Them now represent Catholic Notebook, Spirit Stream Studios, the Diocese, University, or any affiliated groups. You see me? And remember, this podcast are strictly for adult ears, so listen up with discretion.
Wisdom they share, audition and purpose everywhere. So tune in, relax, and let your spirit find guidance from the heart and peace of mind. Welcome to Father, where life is.
Everything was legal. There was another song I wanted to play, and I was like, "Hey, can I play this?" And they're like, "Nah." Can I mention this? They're like, nah. You can't mention it? I can't even mention it. I was like, wait, why can't I mention it? It's like, if you mention that song, just the fact that you mention it, $400,000.
Yo, they own creativity too?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. It's just because the word itself. I was like, oh, that's wild. That's
so if
wild.
I say no, let me not test it. Let me not test it because I got so many ideas and all of them are devious. So let me not.
So everybody, welcome to the Father Podcast. I'm Dr. Giovanni, and with me, like always, is my right hand, my main man,
Father Greg Lambert.
Hey, good to see you, man.
It's been a while.
It has been. My head's pounding.
Yeah, your head's been pounding for a while, right?
It has been. I've
gotten used to it. Just, you know what? It is what it is.
It's a numbing feature at this point.
Yeah, it is. I know why. It is what it is.
It's old age. It's old age.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's what people say when you're an old soul. It's like, no, you just kind of get tired of like the rigmarole, and you just like, I want to cut through all the things that people say and do, and I want to love you where you are.
Yeah,
and just tell you the truth.
Yeah, and I want you to make sense.
Exactly. I want you to make sense, not only for my sake but for your sake.
Right. 1 + 1 has to equal 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And you know what? We want you to make sense always. So why don't you stop what you're doing right now? Keep listening to us, but stop what you're doing right now.
Of course.
Log on to, whatever you're listening to us on. Click 5 stars. I can't do anything lower than 5. I don't know about Father Greg, but I can't do anything lower than 5. So click 5 stars. Be like, hey, I like these guys. 5 stars. Woo! Father Podcast. And let, the algorithm know that you love us. I'm saying us now because I'm sick and tired of like getting.
Didn't we get? What was the official? It was like what, 2,000 pages?
We got like 2,442 pages of like.
And I will let you know
fan
this.
requests
I can't read 2,000 pages. I can't. Yeah. But the last, I don't know, say 60 pages we've got.
No, it was like 120.
I read all 120.
Yeah. It was a lot. A lot. And, we really, really appreciate it. If you want to drop us a line or you just want to say, like, hey, I got to hear me out or whatever, go to catholicnotebook.org/father2father. That's catholicnotebook.org/F2F. See, you out of practice too. Don't even look at me.
I was looking somewhere else.
See, that's the ADHD talking.
It really is.
And as we continue with the Father Podcast, maybe you're sitting there going like, hey, I love you guys so much. I want to put a little in your jar so that you can keep the lights on and Spirit Stream Studios can be like, you know what? Maybe these guys are doing something good. So support us, support them. Again, go to Father. Go to the Father section, catholicnotebook.org/F2F
and
support us. And it keeps the lights on and everything like that. And it allows us to continue to sound crispy coming across the airways. You ready to get started, man?
Always.
All right. You ready for some fatherly advice?
I think so.
Advice. This is where, our fans, you, the listener, sends us letters and you just say like, hey, yo, I've been thinking about this. I just want some fatherly advice. I just want some advice. And it's great because as a mental health counselor, I don't get to give advice very often or at all really within session. So it's kind of fun for me. And
yeah, I mean, I give counsel, but at the end of the day, I mean, people's decisions are their own. Yeah,
no, for sure. So you can always send your letters, email us your letters to catholicnotebook.org/father. Just click on fatherly advice. So that's catholicnotebook.org/father-to-father. That's catholicnotebook.org/
F2F.
And then click on fatherly advice and then just type in your letter and it gets sent directly to us. So today's letter is sent to us by Nicole. Dear Dr. Gio and Father Greg, my name is... I think we already did that one. We'll do this one. Sorry. Today's letter is sent to us by Daniel. Dear Dr. Giovanni and Father Greg, I'm 21 years old, and if I'm being honest, I feel like I kind of missed the universal memo on how to be a normal person. I'm a guy who lingers awkwardly on the edge of group conversations, overthinks every joke I make, and try to replay it in my head for days when it doesn't land. I know, I'm kind of weird. I have hobbies that aren't cool, and when I talk about them, people's eyes glaze over pretty fast. I'm not smooth. I'm not charismatic. And honestly, I don't feel like I bring much to the table socially. But here's the thing. I'm not useless. I am good at some stuff, like really good. And people sometimes come to me when they need help with certain things. I won't list them all here, but just say behind the scenes skills type of things. I just can't seem to translate these moments into real friendships. I just want friends. I just want to stop feel like I'm stuck behind a glass watching everyone else live their lives while I'm just kind of there. I know confidence isn't something that you can just download, but how do I start to build it? How do I stop second guessing every word I say or worrying if I'm annoying people just by existing in the same space as them? I'm trying to pray about it, but I don't even know if I'm asking God the right questions. Any advice means a lot. Sincerely, Daniel.
Well, Daniel, I'm going to tell you this. What we believe about ourselves and what we know about what God has created us to be will come out from our words and our actions. What I hear in this is that the confidence isn't there. Mm-hmm. This is not an indicative on you. It's not saying that, poo-poo on you, nothing like that. But for whatever reason, because of the life that you've lived and because of you can see all the things that you lack that other people don't, the confidence isn't there. And how we get that confidence back is looking at our identity. Who has God created me to be? Is he really my father? If he's my father and he's created me to be wonderfully and fearfully made, to be an individual that he looks at with great love and dignity, then forgive me for saying this, but screw everybody else.
Yeah.
Screw them, dog.
Yeah. I can't help it. But I've been where he's been.
Oh, I know you have.
I've been where he's been. And so a part of me is just like, Daniel, go get tested. It might be like a dyslexia thing. It might be an autistic thing. It might be, and autism is like on a spectrum thing. It's not, because we used to be like, oh, like savants, right? And like, oh yeah, you're really specialized in things. But if you think about it, throughout history, there are people who have been really specialized in stuff, but then socially they just couldn't make it work until like they kind of learned to mimic. And then once they learned to mimic and imitate, and then they kind of just made it work through that, but they themselves couldn't really embody it until that point. I mean, it could be that, and my mind just kind of works in that way where I'm like, well, first things first, let's rule out medical, because that's what I did in my own life. I had to rule out medical. And then from there, I got a list of stuff and they're like, well, you got this, you got this, you got this. I'm like, oh, okay, these things make sense. That makes a lot more sense. And I realized because charisma, there is something to be said about like having natural charisma.
Yes, for sure.
There is something to be said about that. But there's also something to be said about being really good at something. And you mentioned that you're really good at some behind the scenes stuff. And believe it or not, people hate doing things. Mm-hmm. And if you're really good at making other people look good, that becomes one of the greatest assets.
Absolutely.
And so, two things. One, enjoy the things that you enjoy.
Yes.
And lean into that. And be like, yo, if you like Legos, lean into Legos. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you this. I have a different interest probably, what would you say, like every 64 days?
It's very specific, but okay.
Yeah, it's about 64 days. And so after that, it's just kind of like, it's fine. And I'll pick up something else. And Father Greg will tell you, he'll be the first one to tell you, there are times where I get real excited about something. Mm-hmm. Super excited about something. Mm-hmm. And he could care less. Mm-hmm. I'm like, bro, hey, so there's this manga. Listen. Okay, I can't. In order for me to explain this, I got to tell you the whole backstory. So then
I kid you, it's like 25 minutes straight of just him just like almost gasping for air trying to say all the stuff he wants to say.
And I go into it and And this is like very early on. I remember like we were like young when I first started doing that. And you stopped and you go, "Do you do this all the time?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
I just want to know before like we continue on this, like this is going to be a continuous thing because I need to be prepared for it. Yeah. Because I'm not prepared for it on a bad day. I could duff you out.
I know.
I came a long way.
That's beauty. You see, that's the beauty of being family. You know, you kind of have those conversations. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you this, like it didn't deter me at a certain point, because at a certain point I had to accept the fact that like my excitement for stuff is not going to be everybody else's excitement for it. And I had to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if I got excited for it and I just went along and I did it and I produced something for it, then eventually other people look at that and they go like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is this." And for me, it was nothing.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you there's a series of things that I have in my office right now, like spewed all over my office, just products of things, books, documentaries, series, like so many different things that hasn't seen the light of day, that, you know, if it were to be produced, would be insane.
Oh yeah.
In terms of just materials out there. But, you know, I don't do it because I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a thing, and I'm like, no, I'm just really interested in this, and then that's it. And that's why I'm like, yo, just lean into it. So the first thing, lean into it. Second thing, you'll find your people.
Absolutely.
You'll find your people. Like, you're focused so much on trying to find friends. I think, and this is my personal thing, I don't like friends per se. Because the idea of friends is like, yo, this individual is just going to be here for a while and then it is what it is. Friends will come and go. They'll come and go out of your life. You don't really need to work that hard to find a quote unquote friend. Because someone could be your friend today and then tomorrow they don't know you.
That's true.
So instead of doing that, surround yourself with people that get you a little bit in one aspect of your life. Mm-hmm. So pick an aspect of life that you kind of know, because you're talking about like, yeah, you're praying about it, but you don't know. Well, look at your church life. What is it at church that you feel could be fundamentally better? That you yourself can be involved in. You do behind the scenes stuff. So what can you help the church with in your own church community?
That's a great start.
And then find the group of people that do that stuff. And then say, hey, I'm really interested in doing that. And just stop and leave it at that. Don't over-explain yourself. Don't just, I'm really interested in that. And do that. And do it well. And you'll watch the response. Because when you produce something well, people respond well to that. I think that those are just two places to start. You stop focusing on friends, lean into the things that you like, and then from there, seek opportunity. Put yourself in the best position, and then you'll find things to come to you.
And he's right. Because I think the worst part that can happen here is not that you don't have friends. The worst thing that can happen is that you have lots of friends and you don't do the things that you like to do anymore.
Right.
Or you can't talk about the things you want to talk about anymore.
Because I'll tell you, that is a fate worse than hell. Because you'll be sitting there and being like, I really want to just go and read this. And I can't because everyone around me doesn't do that.
Yeah. Now I have to play basketball.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't really like basketball that much. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't do it for me. I'd much rather be reading, why is it that France produces sugar beets?
Or collecting fountain pens.
Yeah. Well, what type of fountain pens? Are we talking about glass fountain pens? Or are we talking about like regular fountain pens?
That was a time in his life.
So that's what I'm saying. So like, Daniel, in all sincerity, like for real, root out medical first. Because it could be something that's going on.
Yeah.
It could be something that's going on. And that could explain quite a bit for you.
It's possible.
And then from there, hey, cool. If nothing's medical's going on and you're like, hey, I'm not part of a spectrum of any kind or anything like that, or it's not like an effect of something, then okay, fine. Then from there, just move on. And it's not to say that, oh, yes, you are because, you're feeling different. No. But this is just a logical thing. It's a logical process. It's a process that I've adopted in my own life just because I do it every day when someone walks into my office. Mm-hmm. So start there. And then from there, see where life takes you. But don't stop being you, man. Enjoy yourself.
Exactly.
Enjoy yourself. Anything else?
Nah, man. Go back forth and bear some good fruit.
Yeah, for real. Topic of the day. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So the topic of the day is parenting, actually, and this kind of works into a lot of the things that we're talking about. So at the end of the day, parenting is one of those things that is incredibly interesting. I wouldn't necessarily say difficult, but it is interesting because the path of parenting is one of those things that as time progresses, you either get really, really upset because you're constantly looking back at the things that you wish you would have done that you didn't do, or you are moving forward and you're like, yeah, I'm looking towards the future and things are going to get great and da-da-da-da. And you kind of see both mentalities work its way through parenting. Very rarely do you see parents focus on the here and now because they're either anticipating the next developmental stage or they're looking back towards a developmental stage that they wish would stay much longer. The here and now is more of that transitional point that you have to live every day to get to that next stage, or to kind of pull your child back into the stage that you want them to be in. So that being said, setting the stage for our discussion today, when we look at parenting as a whole, and we look at the trends that are happening, not only within the Catholic Church, but just within families in various different communities, what is it that you see as being like one of the issues that aren't being addressed? Why are a lot of families just dysfunctional? And this isn't something where it is a ad hominem, where basically like, oh yeah, families are dysfunctional. No, you're seeing this play out. When we do see a 30% increase in mental health in children, mental health illness in children, which is higher than anything else we've ever seen. The current generation of kids right now is the highest of all time. We have the lowest self-esteem. The youngest generation has the lowest self-esteem than any other generation of all time. And this is including generations that have war and including slaves. I want to keep that in perspective, where you have like a slave who would have a higher self-esteem than like a Gen Alpha. Like what? How is that computing? Like, so it's one of those things where, like, as a provider, I get super concerned and I'm like, why are we seeing these trends? This doesn't make any sense to me. because we have a lot more than we used to. And certainly the level of oppression that exists, especially within various different minority communities, is not the same. Although it exists, and don't get me wrong, it still exists. It's just not, but it's not to the level that you would have seen during slavery, or even during 1941, or even during 1960, or even during the 80s. We have grown and changed, and there's been a lot of progress. So why are we seeing these numbers? Suicide rates are up.
Yep.
They're through the roof.
That's true.
And they're not showing any signs of slowing. And so as you are looking at it, you're like, okay, well, the family becomes the natural thing. And then through that, it's like, well, let's look at parenting. And that's the table. So anywhere you want to take it, go ahead.
Well, that's a big question. And
it's an honest question.
I wasn't going to say it. I mean, there it is.
And there it is.
It's a big question, and it encompasses all of, I mean, we can talk about all of America for sure. However, within the family dynamic of the Catholic Church, what we're seeing right now, at least what I'm hearing, is a lot of, well, why didn't you ... And what I mean by that is it's a lot of the parents coming either to me or coming to the church or coming to these groups or these Bible studies and saying, I just wish my son and my daughter, after all that money and time we spent going to mass every single weekend, and we gave them Catholic education, and we gave them all the best that we possibly could, and we prayed the rosary at nighttime, and we did the Bible studies, and we put them into the retreats, and we shipped them all over the country on the mission trips and things of that nature. We did all this stuff. They went to college, and in 4 years undid all of the faith that they had before that they built up for themselves, and now they're adults and they're dating, and we really want to make sure that our grandkids get baptized.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I think, okay, it's admirable what you're saying, but I'm really paying attention more to the end. You want to see your grandkids get baptized. I would love to see that too. I would love to see the kingdom of God grow bigger as well. However, there's a whole lot of stuff that happened in between that we're generalizing.
Yeah.
What you're seeing is they're not doing the thing that you wanted them to do, raise them to do, and or train them to do. And is our faith more than just training?
Well, you see, here's my thing. I don't even think they train them to do it. I don't even think they raise them to do it. Honestly, it's like me putting that piece, I put a piece of paper in front of you and I said, read that. And now I'm expecting you to do exactly what I'm thinking it is. And then I had to give you instruction, like, no, read it like this, ... And then after you read it like that, you're like, okay, I kind of got the idea of like where you're going. Okay, I'm going to read it like that. But then even within that, you have no idea where I'm going with this. There's no context. There's no whatever.
That's true.
And unless I'm showing you what it is, and then after that, if I follow up with you, are you going to produce beats tomorrow? No,
probably not.
10 years from now, are you going to produce a beat? No, you're not. You're not going to be a master producer and all that stuff. And you're going to be like, Father Greg on the mic. Like, that's not going to be you.
That'd be wild.
That would be wild. But like, it's the same thing with these families and everything like that. They're like, I have no sympathy for them because like, if you look at, you have almost like foregone conclusion that if you raise your kid, somewhat traditional or conservative, that over time they will become more liberal. And then if you're liberal, you would stay liberal. I'm just using this as a generality because the Pew Research shows this, where like if you children that are raised in a more conservative traditional household, as they get older, they become more liberal. And it's not until they become a parent themselves that they kind of revert back to those kind of traditions and things like that that they were exposed to as a child. It's that circle of life mentality thing that a lot of parishes kind of adopted.
Well, yeah, parents will teach what they know.
Yeah, in the early 90s, right?
Yes.
My thing is this. If your kid doesn't know how to actually apply the things that you're doing, and if you yourself aren't holding yourself to that same standard that you're asking your kid to be held to, there's no point. Like, I don't know why you're doing it. Like, I really don't know why you're doing it. Because because the level of dedication you take to a baseball game to making sure that they get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, making sure that they eat a certain way, making sure that their clothes are ready, making sure that they're prepped, making sure that they get to the game on time, making sure that they don't miss a game, making sure that they don't miss it. Like, it's the level of dedication that you've taken to that. And then when it comes to your faith, you're just kind of like, and you just drop them off. It's the same thing with the mental health. It's like, I have so many parents that drop their kids off to me and it's like, fix my kid. They're broke. I had four parents in this last week look me in my eye and said, fix my kid. They're broken. Fix my kid. They're broken.
That's incredibly sad.
And I wish that was abnormal. I wish that was abnormal. It happens so frequently that I have a rule that I will not see a child, that anyone younger than like 16, without seeing the parent for at least 8 sessions.
Oh, wow.
I need to see you first for 8 sessions. And we need to talk. We need to see, what are you doing in terms of consistency? What are your structures in your household? Do you have any rules? Are you being consistent with the rules you do have? When you break your own rules that you established for your child, what happens there? Are you willing to admit that you messed up in front of your child?
That's a big one.
And these are things. But if you don't do any of these things, what happens? You establish this, oh, well, it's for you, not for me. And it's the same type of stuff that you rail against when you go to like a church community and you ask, why is it that we do this in the church? Stop asking those questions. Just do it. It is what it is. It's the exact same thing.
Well, and that's the same thing when they say just do it. It is what it is. We will see those guys, those kids after they graduate high school, after their parents stop making them go, and maybe around Christmas or Easter time. And then we will see them again when it's time for them to get married.
Yeah.
Because they don't know another way.
Right.
That's what they've always known. Why would you get married anywhere else?
Right.
Like my parents told me, like, yo, grandma's going to have a heart attack if we get married in a barn, like we saw on Etsy. Like, so we might as well just do it here.
But you see what I mean, though? Like, it's not even like, yo, I'm willing to teach you why it is that we're doing the things that we're doing. It's more so, I'm going to guilt you into doing this.
But they were guilted before. That's how they got into this. That's why they do what they do.
Yeah.
So if your grandparents didn't understand, your parents didn't understand, you definitely don't understand. The kids aren't going to understand.
The kids aren't going to understand.
I had the same conversation a few years back with an individual. I was giving a talk at a parish in the Illinois area, and I offered it up to everyone. I did general questions. I said, hey, listen, our faith is incredibly important. Your kids' faith is incredibly important. They're about to get confirmed, right? You want them to live good lives. You want them to be able to be close to the Lord. You want them to teach them the skills in order to do this. So here's my question for all you parents here. What is it that's stopping you from doing that? This is something that you're obviously serious about because you're coming to these events. You're making sure these kids are going to confirmation. And even though sometimes I can read it in your faces because I sit up here and I talk to you guys all the time, and I can see I don't want to be here. I want to be anywhere but here. I'm looking at my watch. I want to go somewhere else. That's understood. I get it. There's places that I want to be other places sometimes too with things I have to do, but that's what I've been called to.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So what is it that's stopping you from allowing your children to be there? It was bone silent. I was like, that's fine. If it's silent, we can be in the silence together. If you're uncomfortable, let's be uncomfortable together. Let's figure out what needs to be done. Because I care. I think you care too. And we're not going to make this a high school situation where I'm not going to show that I care because I don't think that's cool. Nah, it's your children, right? That's your world, right? So let's talk about it. What is it that's standing in your way from doing that? There was a dad who said, that's right, I'll say it. I said, oh. I said, what you going to say, sir?
Of course it's going to be a dad first. It's going to be a dad first because he'd be like, nah.
But he piped up, he said, I don't know how. And it was quiet.
Say less.
He said, I don't know how. Like, you tell me how I'm supposed to do this with my child. Like, I did this because my parents told me to do it. And I'm doing the same thing to him because I think that's what's supposed to happen. I'm not saying that the church isn't valuable, but, I'm busy. The family's busy. These kids got sports. They got all this stuff going on. I got to impress my wife. I got to do all this stuff at work. there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to tell him that this is important, but like, hey, we don't go to church all the time, but I want him to get confirmed. So you tell me, how do I do that?
Consistency.
And I said, that's a great place to start. And I respect the fact that you asked that question, because a lot of people in your position right now who are too afraid to ask that question, who don't even know how to start to ask that question, or who to talk to, or who to trust to ask that question and get a real answer.
Yeah. No, because like if he would have asked any other priest but you, like legit, if we're just being honest, you have a majority of priests that you can go to. How many of them will be able to give you a genuine answer to that question?
And not like completely not whitewash it, but just like sweep it under the rug.
Oh, just pray about it.
Exactly. Or just say, just come to mass and wait for God to tap you on the shoulder and things are going to like, is that possible? Absolutely. It's totally possible. You can see something incredible in the Eucharist.
Yeah.
But my man.
But it's not happening.
Like if you don't understand what that is, or you don't understand why you need that, you're not going to be able to relay that to anyone, much less your own flesh and blood.
Yeah. It's 100% true. It's 100% true. One of the biggest trends right now for me is that I have clients that come in and speak psychobabble to me. They'll come in and say like, hey, I'm struggling with high stressors in anxiety, and I think my delusions are interfering with my ability to connect with my inner self, and my underlying depressive symptoms are now fundamentally misguiding my motivators to, and so on and so forth.
You said psychobabble, and I thought like, the turtle in my corner of my room is speaking to me in tongues.
That would be a lot easier.
I was like, you're a better man than me. I can't handle that 24 hours a day.
But I feel like that's what they do, and then I have to stop them and be like, okay, listen, no. Because it's one of the few times that I ever say like no, and you'll very rarely catch me say no in a session. But when you come in and you speak psychobabble, I say no. Okay, stop. You didn't say anything because you don't have a background in that. If you had a background in that, you'd realize that when you say delusion, that tells me that you're having a psychotic break, meaning that you can't tell the difference between reality and fiction, and your fictional world has merged into your reality, and you're seeing things that you're seeing and hearing things that you cannot or should not be hearing and seeing. Is that what's happening to you? Eyes go big. You see, words have meaning. So just because some person on TikTok or you went to Google and you typed something in and you saw a definition doesn't necessarily mean you have a full understanding of what that thing is. It's going to take time for you to know what that is.
That's pervasive in our culture right now, though.
And that's what it is, though. I think it's just this cookie cutter, like, hey, if I just have this thing, I can just run with it. But people, you're in a spot where people cannot move forward without having some understanding anymore. We've gotten away with it for a long period of time because
yeah, that's true. Because no one's correcting anyone.
No,
it's just like, we're just gonna say this on TikTok. It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's been okay for now because people have been like, it is what it is. Well, even well before TikTok. I mean, like, think about the 90s. How many stuff that was going on? Like, they said in the 90s that if a kid opened up a cereal box, Dr. Fauci, he said this, that, kids can get AIDS from opening up cereal boxes.
What?
Yeah, no. He was on Oprah and saying like kids can get AIDS from like touching surfaces that other AIDS people had. Like that was stuff that was just blatantly said on Oprah.
Yikes.
And that's why we had such a scare of AIDS for so long, because like we didn't understand it. So like it was, and it wasn't until like the medical community came out and was just like, listen,
you're not going to get AIDS from a cough.
You're not, just because someone else has AIDS doesn't mean that, being in the premises is going to like catch you the AIDS. That's not how that works. Like, it's not how it works.
But leprosy.
Right. But it's the same thing though. Like, we have so many things that people just automatically assume, well, if I'm in the vicinity of X, then I'm going to catch it, or I'm going to eventually get that feeling. And then you compare that to the Catholic Church and the Protestant world. When you go to a Protestant service, it is an amazing experience. From beginning to end, it's an amazing experience.
For sure.
And you feel galvanized and everything.
Yep.
When you go to a Catholic mass, unless you have an understanding of what you're seeing,
Yes.
it is mind-numbing to you. Because you're like, I don't get what's going on here.
We're standing, we're sitting. The music might be nice, or it might not be. The space might be fantastic and incredible and super pleasing to the eye, or it might not be.
Or it might not be.
The homily might be bomb, or it might not be.
And you're sitting there going like, hey, what is going on? And I think ultimately at the end of the day for you, it becomes something where you have these families that don't ask the question, what it is that we're trying, what kind of child are we trying to have? Because in the reality, your child's approximately going to be about 75% of the totality of what you teach them. 75% of the totality.
Yeah.
So if you only spend like 25% or less on your faith, keep in mind, 75% of the totality of the things that you teach them is going to pass onward.
Yes.
So if the faith is very small for you, it's going to be very small for them because they don't have enough for them to like see it.
Yes. And it's also going to become a problem if the faith becomes something that's bigger for them and is not big enough for their family.
Right.
Because that's going to bring about a clash, a very uncomfortable lifestyle between both parties of how much do I say about my faith? I love God. I love Jesus. I'm thinking about a vocation. How do I tell my parents who don't go to mass, who say that you can do this if you want to do this, or you can do something else, or don't want me to live that type
Which
of
is a
lifestyle?
lie, by the way. You can do this as long as it doesn't inconvenience us.
Yeah.
That's the line. It's not that you can do this if you want to. Because as soon as a child wants to, then it's, why are we doing this?
Exactly, because now it feels as if like, oh, you're hijacking the family to do all this. So I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had with individuals who have a deep faith life, but they were too young. And when I say too young, I mean they were in high school, right?
Yeah.
And as they say, oh, these are supposed to be your golden years. They're supposed to be your best years, or whatever like that.
Yeah.
That's a fallacy. Don't believe that. No. But they had a real deep faith life, and their family went on vacation, and so now they're in Punta Cana, right? Now they're in the Bahamas. Now they're in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And they're trying to have a good time. Everyone's having a good time, but hey, it's Sunday.
We got to go to mass.
How are we going to get mad? I mean, we can go Saturday night. That's fine too. And then there's a collective either silence or, why are you doing this?
Oh, come on.
Like, come on. We're on vacation. What are you doing? That conversation has happened a lot. It's happened a lot. And so you got to be faced with the decision in the conversation. What is it as a parent that you want, especially in the situation for your child? You want them to be faithful? You want them to be close to God? Or do you want them to be close enough that they'll have, quote, a good life, be good people, and then what?
At the end of the day, like the problem is when you make your kid the center of your life and you make him that, you're effectively saying like, hey, I'm God. Hey, I'm going to be able to control everything about this person. And at the end of the day, you get reminded when they turn 18 or when they start separating from you, one could do things that are different from what you envision for them. And keep that in mind. It's what you envision for them. Because if you're trying to build this balanced life, you still have to make a decision here. Is this what I am envisioning? Or am I trying to set my kid up to figure out what God wants them to envision for their life? Which one of these things am I trying to do? So I'm doing all these things, but when they leave, I don't have anything left. And then I'm left and I'm hollow and I don't have it. And so it's like, if you're wanting to prevent that from occurring, there's a couple of things you can do. A couple of things you can do right now that can radically change how things are. If you are going to take the level of intensity when your kid, for example, comes to you and says, hey, I don't understand football, or I don't understand makeup, I don't understand this. And you go and you research and you talk and you da-da-da about whatever to figure out a way to explain it to them. That same level of ferocity should be taken with your faith.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just a 1-to-1. It's a 1-to-1. And if you say like, well, I don't know. Well, that's the point. If you don't know, then look it up. In the same way where I sit there and I say, people come to me with psychobabble, and I'm like, you don't know. And they're like, well, I'm like, yeah, so start looking it up. It's a good start, but let me give you materials and let me give you some stuff. And let me give you some resources that can help guide you. Because right now you're thinking, oh, I can take the PhD level and just eat it. And I'm like, no. Let's start black and white. What's true, what's not true. And then once you get out of that, then you can start building some abstract concepts into it. And it's the same thing with your kid. Start with black and white, because I don't care how smart you think your kid is. If they're, if they're still young, like 0 to like 10, pretty much, they're still thinking in black and white. They're not abstractly thinking. They can't. And then like once they get past that point where they can finally think outside of themselves and finally like plan and do stuff, they're like, okay, cool. Now you can start introducing that. So like you have time to build a foundation. Teach them what to think. And that's what you're doing. So every action that you're engaging in, if you break a rule, you are setting a rule not only for them, but for yourself. So make sure that the rules that you set, you can actually follow. Don't be overly punitive just because it's convenient. If you want convenience, just allow the convenience to happen. But a rule should be applicable to everyone so that when the child sees you break the rule, they also see what happens, and you can allow them to see grace, compassion, everything else that comes with it. Because not every single time that we violate a rule, we get a punishment, i.e., confession.
Yeah. I mean, there's usually there's always a penance, but the penance doesn't have to be, you're going to be on your knees, kneeling on salt for however long.
Yeah.
It can be a Hail Mary.
Right. And there's consequences, positive and negative, that come with it. Right. But there is that sense of, hey, I have something here. I did something, and I recognize that there was a rule set, and I broke it. And it's unfortunate. And now I have to do something to rectify it. And it's the same thing it's the same mechanics that you're teaching your child. They're not mini adults. They're children.
That's true.
So, I mean, that's pretty much it, man. All right. Yeah, anything else?
Oof.
That was a lot.
That was a lot. So this is a story about the first fishing trip I've ever taken.
Oh, shoot.
Right. So we were down in Florida with my family. It was my dad, my sister, my mom, and me. We went down to Jetty Park.
Oh,
beautiful area near the Cape Canaveral, like the kind of the inlet part of there, so you can see the cruise ships coming in and out of the ports and things of that nature, and you can go out there. Beautiful water. Right. Wonderful day. We went to Publix and got those chicken tenders.
Oh yeah,
and you got like the little Hawaiian sub rolls. And you can put the chicken tender, make the sandwiches and stuff. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. Woo! Perfect day. Wonderful weather. The beach on the side. You can spend all day in the water, all day on the beach. The thing that paradise is made out of. So my dad brings these fishing poles, or these old fishing poles, and they didn't really work that great, but we were excited to do our first fishing. So we put the worm on the little hook there, the old school thing, and throw it in there with the cast. And I'm waiting, and nothing's happening. We didn't catch a single thing all day. And so we went down to the picnic area and ate some stuff. I'm kind of bummed. I was looking forward to this fishing situation, and nothing happened. My sister tried, nothing happened. And I'm like, oh, well, this kind of sucks, whatever. So we went to the beach, and we had a good day, and I had a good time. And I was like, man, I'm still pissed I can't get this fish. Like I've never caught a fish before. I really want to catch a fish. I gotta catch something. Yeah. And so I was, moaning about it the entire time. My dad finally said, all right, fine. You can try again here. Just take the rod and you just go off on your own. Do what you want to do. Right. So I go off on my own onto the dock, and I cast that thing out there, and I'm waiting for what felt like probably almost an hour. Right. Like, I'm serious about it. Like, I'm going to find it. Nothing's happening. Eventually, my dad and my sister come and check on me. And they're like, hey, we got to leave soon. I'm like, almost. Like, I swear, I can feel them biting. Just give me some more time. And I turned around and said, give me some more time. And as I said that, the line started to move. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is my moment. And so I start reeling. I'm screaming bloody murder like, Dad, come here. I got the fish. And he's like, oh, he's got a fish. And my sister's like, he's got a fish. And my mom's like, what? And I was like, I got a fish. And so I'm reeling and I'm working my behind off. I got sweat equity in this fish. I need to get this fish. And as I'm reeling, the reel jams. Like the string gets caught in there, and now it's all just a tangled mess. And I think I'm going to be able to loosen it up by spinning even faster. It makes it 10 times worse, and now it's stuck. It's not moving, and I can't unreel it, and I can't untangle it. So I'm like, crap, what do I do? And the fish is still on the hook. I can feel it push it, like pulling me, and it's stronger than me. So my dad grabs the reel, and then he's now in charge of it. So what he does is takes it into his own hands, drops the reel, and starts grabbing the string and then pulling the fish in by hand. And like the most manliest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That is like, tell me you're a man without telling me you're a man.
Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm gonna get this fish too. And he finally gets this fish. And now, unbeknownst to me, like a horror movie, my guy, I'm watching my dad reeling this fish like, yeah, we got it. We got you now, fish. We got you now. And I turn to my left, and walking over like a grown man is a pelican. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever seen a pelican in real life.
Hey, yo.
They're big creatures.
They are massive.
They're massive creatures. I am probably like 10 or so around this time. 10-year-old, probably like, 5 feet, maybe a little bit less. This pelican could look me in my eyes. It's walking. It's not flying. It's walking over to us like a grown man, like with grown man shoulders. And they got these beet red eyes. And I'm like, yo, do we need to be worried about that? Like, I'm looking at my dad like, yo, do we need to be worried about this bird?
Focus on the fish. Don't mess this up.
And then my dad finally gets the fish. Like I look at him like, yo, this is amazing. We got the fish. I'm completely forgetting about the pelican. We got the fish, and it's not big. It's a little fish, right? It's a little fish, but my pride tells me it was a medium-sized fish. It was a little fish. And so I'm super excited. Yo, we got the fish. We got the fish. We got the fish. I turn, this pelican is feet away from my father. He's going after this fish. Like, yo, that's my tax. Like, give me that chain. Like, that's what I was about to do, dog. And my dad sees the pelican, and he goes, oh, and then takes the fish off the hook, tosses it to my sister, and says, here, catch, put it in the cooler. My sister sees the fish, sees the pelican, sees the fish is still alive and flopping midair, goes, drops the fish. This pelican goes past my sister like she's a piece of blade of grass, dog. Just puts a shoulder and a wing in her chest and eats this fish. And she starts screaming, and then my dad and me are just like, you let the fish go. What's wrong with you? I wasn't gonna fight this pelican either, but it wasn't me.
But it wasn't you.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. You're the one who fumbled
the bag. We put in the work. I put in sweat equity. I put in the waiting. My dad put in his hard work muscles.
He put in grown man strength.
Grown man strength, and all you had to do was catch the fish and run.
That's it. That's it.
So you Odell Beckham now, huh? Interesting. And so what do we learn by this?
Don't let women catch fish. That's it.
That's why there was men on the boat. Anyway. We love our women brothers.
We love you. We love you. We love you. Ladies, we love all of you. We love all of you. We say this because we care. We don't want you out there smelling like fish.
Exactly.
Be inside. Handle the books.
Celibacy, right? So, and what do we learn by this? Legitimately, my dad put in work. I put in work. We put in time. And every now and again, you have to ask yourself, did all the work that I put in go to waste for a moment of fear? And it seems real benign. It does. It was a little fish. Yeah. I've eaten better fish in my life. And you probably could have just let it go. It was that small. But it was the fish that I worked for and that my dad worked for. My sister was there in the beginning, right? But she came in towards the end. She had one job. I did my job. My dad did his job. She got scared. She fumbled the bag. Don't be like my sister.
Yeah.
Don't fumble the bag because you get scared in an instant. Take a breath. Realize what you're supposed to be doing. Realize what other people are supposed to be doing. The danger is still there.
Yeah.
It's always going to be there. But if you keep watching about what could happen, you're not focused on what needs to be happening right now.
Right. Yeah.
right? Don't get scared and fumble the bag.
Yeah. Because your dad's still there. Mm-hmm. He's not going to let you get eaten by a pelican.
Exactly. You might take a look or two, though. You might take a look or two.
Hey, but that's life. What's life without a few scars?
Exactly.
We love scars. Hey, it is what it is. Hey, we ain't talking about Lion King. Anyways. That's all the time. Yo, a good story, man. That's all the time we got. That's all the time we got today, man. That's it. That's it. Peace.
Welcome to Father, where life and faith meet.
Father to Father is a production of Spirit Stream Studios. All rights reserved.